Good afternoon, I am Tristan Budzine, and today I'm going to be showing you how to build a basic website. So the learning objectives today is to learn how to use HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and then learn how to use them all together on an HTML document to build out a demo website that shows basic usage of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So the thing that I like to use for this is Sublime Text. You can use Visual Studio Code, or you can even use your Notepad. But if you want to use Sublime Text, you can just download for Windows, and it will be there is a free version, or you can buy it if you like it enough. The free version will just have pop-ups every now and then that says they would like you to purchase this. So the first thing I like to do is to create a folder. So I'm just going to call this my website demo. So we're just going to create that folder, then open Sublime Text, and this has a little bit of me, fleshing out this project before, but we don't need to worry about that now. Then we select my website demo, hit select folder, and that'll open up a new folder for us. So under my website demo, I want to go new folder. I'm going to create one called JS, which will be where our JavaScript is held. So JavaScript is a programming language that we will be using on our website. It's used on 97% of websites on the web, as it's very versatile and browsers can pick it up. So next we want a new folder called CSS. So CSS stands for cross-site scripting. I'm just making sure. Cascading style sheets. So CSS cross-site scripting is a hacking method, and that was actually what my first demo is going to be on. So I got that a little wrong, but that's alright, we'll keep rolling. So this will hold our CSS, this will hold our JavaScript, but for now we need an HTML document. So I like to go up here, doc type, HTML, and I'm just going to save this. Now we must navigate to our folder. I should have just done date modified, and this will have our my website demo. Then we can save it here, and we want to save it as index.html. So this will be our home page, and the HTML hypertext markup language is basically, it's like the building blocks for websites. So we'll have all of our content on here, and to make our content do something, we'll need JavaScript, and to make it pretty, we'll need CSS. So for now, we can just do HTML tag, HTML tag. So this is telling us everything in here will be in HTML. Our header tag, our head tag, and we want a body tag. So the body tag is where our content will go, and the header tag is where we'll link our JavaScript and our CSS from here. We do want to assign a title, and then one thing I like to do is go to meta char set, and that should equal UTF-8. So that's determining our char set. And then the next thing we're going to need is our viewport setup. So we're going to go to, so just one moment. So we need the name equals viewport, and the content equals width equals device dash width initial scale equals 1. So this is going to allow it to resize to our device. So if we do like the width is a certain percentage of, then it'll do it of the device width. So it can make it dynamic, so it works on different devices. Instead of having, like, if you have a 600 pixel div and you take it on a phone, it's going to look a lot different than you would like it to. So from here, the next part I like to do is to, well, first we'll need a title, so we'll call this my website demo. And we will do the content in just a minute. So first I want to create a new JavaScript file. So I'm going to save this as index script, and that is in our JavaScript folder, as you can see up here. We'll hit save, and I will create a new CSS file. So we're just going to save that, and now we must navigate to our CSS. Now I'm calling it styles.css. So we are going to be using jQuery, which jQuery just makes our life with JavaScript a lot easier. So what we want to do is navigate to our web browser and type jQuery, and then make sure it's jQuery.com, download, and then we want this one here, the compressed production jQuery 3.60. So we're going to hit save link as. We want to navigate to our current folder. So you can see this is also a JavaScript file. So we're going to put this in our JavaScript folder. And I'm going to take off the one. Hopefully it doesn't get mad at me. So then if we go back to our Sublime text, we can see right here we have our jQuery file. So we need to include this, that way we can use jQuery in our JavaScript file. So to include this, we want to go script src equals js slash jQuery. And actually, because on the left hand side here you can't see the full extension, if you just click on it, it'll open up, and then we can make sure we get that all correct. So include it like this, make sure you have the jQuery. And these scripts do need a closing tag, you may notice the meta ones do not. And now we want to link our JavaScript file itself. Nope, I forgot an equal sign. JavaScript slash jQuery 3.6.min.javascript. Whoop. I'm sorry. This will be our index script. .js. And now we want our CSS file. So this will be CSS slash styles.css. And then we can close that tag. So this will link our JavaScript file and our CSS, and it'll allow us to run it in here. And just one sec. So I need this to be the href, and then rel will be the declaring it as a style sheet. Alright, and this one does not need a closing tag. And now we go to, well, now I'd like to test this out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the body background will be yellow, and this will be window dot onload if window dot jQuery we want to alert us jQuery is working. So we might need here and here. Alright, so then we can save all of this, make sure it's all saved, and then we can go to our folder, documents. Oh, that is my image file. So navigate to your folder, my website demo, and launch the index file. See, this is why we tested out, because it appears we have neither of those working, which is not ideal, but that's part of the process. So, so we need to look at why. So this is styles.css, styles.css. It's saved in the correct folder. But you see up here how this is not saved? So the version we're looking at has nothing inside of it. And it appears this one is a little bit broken. So what we're going to do is go function e slash here. And so this will come up every now and then, and it's saying, thanks for trying it out. So it's an unlimited trial, and you can just hit cancel, and that'll go ahead and work. And now we should at least see yellow. So we do see yellow, but we don't quite see our alert. So, when in doubt, we can look up online. So this is actually a useful skill of development. So I did do this earlier, but I don't remember the code line for line, but I remember how to get there. So to find the code, we can Google how to check if jQuery is working. Not query, jQuery. So we'll go ahead and look down here. This is Stack Overflow. If you have not used this, it is very useful. Oh, so essentially, what I did wrong was I didn't do an equal sign. And now if we are lucky, this should be working pretty good. See? There we go. So if something doesn't work, it is no big deal. Feel free to Google it at any point. That is half of the skill of being a developer, is knowing what to Google and how to Google it. So now we have our CSS file linked and our JavaScript file linked. I like to try these first instead of doing what I want and then later testing it, not knowing if it's not linked correctly or if the code's broken. So whenever I get these linked in, I like to test them right away. So now we should add some content. So I like to have a div with the ID of content or wrapper, however you'd like to do it, but I'm going to do content and to close the div tag. Oh, so to save these pages, let's say I want to save this, I'm just pressing Control S instead of going File, Save, and it does save you a lot of time. To finish these divs, I'm just going the less than symbol and then the /, and it fills it in for you, which is why I do like Sublime Text, especially over something like just the default Notepad editor. Like this code will run, but you won't get like the colors or the auto completion or like in the CSS. So we can do background. It shows us all of our options for CSS. It does not do that in just the default Notepad, although you can use it. So this will be our content, and this will just actually be holding everything. So I'm just going to go ahead and move that over. And now we want to create an h1, so that is a header tag. A header tag is pretty much a div, but it makes the font bigger automatically. So we're going to call it website demo. And that's actually the text we're going to want, so I'd like to call this content header. And then in here, website demo. Now we'll close that h1 tag, and we'll just use a div tag for this one. Our ID, I'll call this content body. So right now we're just adding some text. It doesn't need to be anything major. We just want to have something so we can show how everything works. This is our website demo. Then I can close this here. Now I'm going to create a div ID content controller. So this will hide the content. Now, first things first, if we look at this, Everything's saved. The CSS isn't quite saved. We didn't make any notable changes. Just good practice to have everything saved. So then, if we launch this now, we'll still get that alert. And we have our content on here, but everything is off to the left-hand side of the screen. I personally don't like that. So today we're going to be teaching you how to center a div. Every developer's nightmare. That is a joke. People often talk about how it's hard to center a div. And it's not per se, but it's not something you need to know how to do off the top of your head. Like, the more you use it, the more you'll do it, but you can Google it in just a second. So that's like one thing with programming languages. Syntax isn't always important, it's knowing how to solve problems. Like how to Google to achieve what you would like. So now in our CSS, we want to access our content. So the hashtag is for the ID. So the ID is what we selected here under div ID equals whatever name we would like to give it. And that's important because it allows us to refer to it from our CSS or our JavaScript. So content, we will go here, do margin, auto. I'll do width before that. So width equals 40%. Margin auto, then we want our text align to be center. Now actually, I can show you why we need. So the width determines like how wide it is on the screen. So let's say we made the width, I'll use characters as an example. 2 characters would be here, here, and here. And then the margin is auto, so that would make it so it automatically adjusts the margin on each side until it's in the middle of the screen, like this, for example. So it does that automatically, but inside of the content div, the text still isn't centered. And now we can do a border on here. Border style, let's do a solid. And now we'll save that. And we can just refresh this. And now we have our website demo centered. So the div itself is centered, which is the border, and then the content in the div is also centered horizontally. We can vertically center it, but that does get a little more tricky. It's not too bad. So we have this done. And the next thing I want to do, because this is going to be a click function here, the hide content, we will do content controller, and then we're going to use this colon, we're going to do hover. And what hover does is when you hover over it, it changes the property. So for example, we can do color red. Now we'll save that. And we can refresh it. There we are. So we have that working. Now we need to go into our index script. So we made sure jQuery was working. So now it's time to use it. So to use it, we can go the money symbol, and then we will use. So to make sure to do this, you want document ready function. E, and we'll have this here. And now this is where we would write like all of our JavaScript code. So under here, and this is just ugly code here. I'm just gonna move this up. There we go. Depends on the language whether or not it should be here. Well, it's really preference. Like, I guess it doesn't really matter, but some languages it just feels right to have it up here. So now we select the div we would like. So this is saying, hey, when our document is ready, we're going to use this function. So we're going to do hashtag content controller. And we want when it's clicked on. Then we will do function E. Actually, that reminds me, we don't need a function E up here. And we'll go here. So now we need a, so basically when this is clicked, we want to set it to be, we want to set the like the content head and the content body, I'll show us. So we want these two to become invisible. So to do that first, so if they're already invisible, we don't just want them to stay invisible, we want to make it more interactive. So to do that, I'm going to create a variable called isVisible. To do that, we just do var isVisible, and we're going to do equals true. And now we're going to use an if statement. So if is visible and else. So if this is visible, we want to grab the header, so content header .css .visibility. Oh geez, spelling is not a strong suit of mine, especially when I'm trying to do it quick. We want to set that to hidden. Alright, so we have the content header set to hidden, and now I want to copy this. I mean, you could rewrite it if you would like. We're just going to copy it, paste it here, take this one, paste it here, paste this here. Now we want to set this one to the content body, and now we want to set this one. So basically we're saying if it is visible, we're going to change the header to hidden and the body to hidden. So we'll hide our content, and if it's not visible, then we want to make it visible again. So we're going to change this from hidden to visible. And now the last thing we need to do is change our isVisible variable to false. IsVisible equals false. And for this one, we want to make it equal to true. Now, we should have, theoretically, something kind of cool now. So we have our CSS, and if we hover over that, it turns red. So this is our HTML here. Our CSS is adjusting this, adding the color, turning this red. And this is what our JavaScript does. When we press that, it makes it invisible. When we press it again, it makes it visible. So that's pretty neat. It makes it kind of interactive if they would like to hide the content. Now, one thing we can work on together actually is going to be making this change the words. So to do that, first things first, what I like to do is I like to just try to kind of play around with this. So what we're going to do is select, we're working through this one together to kind of show what the process is like of actually thinking through the code. So we want to select our header controller, that's the one we're going to be using. And we can look through these properties and see what's going on there. So hopefully we can just do text content. And we want to change that to show content. And what does it say right now? Hide content capital. So we'll do show content because we're using it as a button pretty much. Now we'll do the same thing here. So once it changes to show content, we want it to change back to hide content. Now we can test this out, and I'm not promising this will work. This is part of the process of going through it. So that didn't quite work. Now what we can do is inspect element. So it says text content is not a function. So now I like to try, so text content didn't work out for us. Try text and see what that does for us. Yeah, so this I purposely didn't do before, so I can kind of show you the process blind. So now we'll test it, and now it does actually work. So it does show content, hide content, which is awesome. Yeah, so that's kind of how I think it through. And now let's say like I couldn't get this. Like let's say I didn't figure out it was text. What I would look up is how to change. So I would look up jQuery. I'd look up how to change a div's text and then jQuery. To change a div's text, you want to select the div, do text.changeText, and this is what we did. So this is awesome. So here it actually says something interesting. You should use the jQuery HTML method. Oh, I see. So this is if you want to make it bold or something, but we don't need to do that. And another thing is, if you still couldn't find it, like let's say for some reason it would, like, pretend jQuery was unknown. This is just for in general for programming or development. You can do quotes right here, and it will only show you results with jQuery, and you can use that for any part of this. And let's see where we're at with time. Let's see if we have some more time left. So we do. So we'll actually develop a second site, and I'll show you how to link to that. So we're going to go to File, New. I will save this as we'll name this one Images HTML. And now we can just copy all of this stuff. Well, actually, so I like to always just copy as much of it as I can, and then I can come through here and delete this. And so this is our index script here. I don't know if we're going to be using JavaScript on this one. We can maybe, so I'll just delete it now, and it isn't too hard to make. Website image demo. So we want to add some images. We'll call this image content. Actually, what we'll do is we'll go and now, so we have this as ID right now, right? We want to change it to a class because ID can only be used once, but class can be used across many pages or many times. But the only thing is we're going to have to change this from a hashtag to a dot. And this can be kind of confusing to keep straight for new developers, but I like to think of it as a hashtag as a specific ID, like a specific location, and the dot is in general. But for some reason the hashtag, to me, it seems more precise, like an ID would be. I don't know why I associate that with that, but it does help me keep those straight. 'Cause for a while I was mixing that up. So we want to create the content here. And we'll save this. And we can do so this is how we link something. So href equals, because these are in the same file, I believe we can just do images.html image site. Alright, then we'll hit save. And now it'll give us a little content. Now we can try loading this once more. I don't know if I saved this. Let's see. Image site. Interesting. What we'll do is we'll just throw a div around it. When in doubt, div it out. And now we'll try again. Well, this just seems silly. Okay, well, I realized the complete issue. So, the issue is currently that this is actually the first file I worked on, but that's alright. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit here. So this is like the one I used to practice. As you can see on the other one, we didn't have the show content or the hide content. So I'm just going to recreate this. File new. We're going to save this as images.html. And we can do the same thing here. href equals images.html. And we can launch this. There we are. And images brings us to our image site. Awesome. So one thing I'm noticing is the content, because we changed it on our other one, we just have to change that back quick. So every time I make a change that I know is going to be done, like going to be tested, I'll hit change. And then we just need our this here to be set to the class selector instead of the ID. And there we are. So we have this set up. Now I should show you how to link an image. So first we're going to need some images. We're going to do cute puppies. It's a hobby of mine. So I like this dog. This dog's looking excellent. So we will save image as, and my website demo, I'm going to create a new image folder. And I'm just going to save it as puppy. Oh, it's getting mad at me. Puppy. So, we have that saved under our image folder. Now under images, I don't really like just naked text in the container div, so I'm just going to quickly div that. Whoop. I forgot that. Now we need a image tag. src equals image slash puppy dot jpeg. Well, it might be source. Wait, this is source. It's not href. I think source is correct. And this is kind of what I mean about syntax not being huge. Like if you don't work with technology a lot, you don't need to like know exactly whether or not this is source or href, because you can just look stuff up like that. What's important is that you kind of know like you need an image div, and then from there you can look up all the syntax. So alt is going to be very cute puppy. Oh no, typing is not my strong suit. Alright, so let's test this out. So we have our index, we go here, and that is a big dog. And it does break our frame, our border. And this is because our border is set to be 40% of the page, and this image takes up way more than that. So, as far as that's concerned, we can, alright, suppose text is not liking me. I believe we can just do width equals, I don't know if you can do percentages in the actual HTML. You can find out. There we are. There we are. So that is our cute puppy holding a rose. And just checking where I'm at for time. So now we can actually do things to the image. So by that I mean in our CSS. So we're going to have to create a new JavaScript file for this. So we want to copy this text here. Easier than typing, saves time. Always copy when you can. I want a different JavaScript file for every different page I have. CSS is the same depending on the size of your application. Like for example, you might have a styles that does like most of the stuff for every page, such as the border layout, the navigation, and then if you want something more specific, you can link a second one, and you can do more specific stuff to that page. But for now, we will open up we'll create a new JavaScript file. We're going to save that. as images script whoop. See, this is one thing I don't like about this, but we actually don't need this open right now. Sometimes if you actually drag these out, it'll just open in a new window. So our image script, and we did not name it as JavaScript. So that's alright. So sometimes you'll make those mistakes. What you want to do is delete and new, save as images script.js. Alright, so we're going to be using a lot of this code. Well, not really a lot. We can copy from here to here. So what I like to do when I develop is copy and paste as much code as possible. Like, why waste the time rewriting it if you don't need to? So now we're on our images. We want to add an ID to this image. So we're going to call it ID equals cute puppy. I feel like that's a very fitting ID. And we might be able to do this without. Oh, we do want our flag. Actually, I think we can do this a different way. So we may not need this script. No, we won't save those changes. So like, let's say we had another page that had, we're going to call this one information. We're going to call this puppy information. And I did it again. So we're going to delete this file. Save as puppy info.html. So we save that, and once again, like I said, if you have your own work, feel free to copy and paste it, because you already did the hard work in creating it. So let's say like here we had I don't know much about dogs or like dog breeds. So let's say like you had a page that had a bunch of information about this dog, and you wanted to link this, to link an image. So you can, like, once it's clicked on, you can see the information about it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go A, which is basically saying, hey, this is where our link is going to be. We'll do href. So anything in between here becomes a link. I showed in the index that text becomes a link, but this is going to be our image becoming the link itself. Now we want puppy info.html. Now there's another cool thing I wanted to show you. So it's actually we could do it in JavaScript, but there's just an easier way to do it in CSS. So under images, our image is called cute puppy. So we want to go hashtag cute puppy dot hover I wonder if this will make it, because right now it's set at 40%, right, my width. I wonder if I make it 50%, will it make it bigger, or will it do 50% of 40%? There's only one way to find out. So we're going to do height and width, set to 50%. We'll see what that does real quick. So I'm just going to change this to index. So we can hide our content. We can link to here. This is our image site, and we click on the puppy, it gets bigger. So I've used this on a website where I've had it was a library inventory system. We had a bunch of books right next to each other. I made it so when this is clicked on, it hovers so you know which one you're clicking on. And then if we click on this, we can get puppy information. So it is specific. We don't have a back button yet, but you could create a back button, and then you could have a bunch of different kinds of dogs and information about each one. There is better ways to do it. If, like, let's say you want it all on the same page with different information about the dog pulled from a database, then you would probably send like the ID of this image. It would pull it from the database. But for our example, we can just do it like this. And let's say you had a black lab here. You can set it to be the same thing. Then you click on it, bring you the black lab information. So yeah, that is all I had due to time. I wanted to get a basic demo showing the code for HTML, CSS, JavaScript, how to use it. So we got that shown, and then kind of some linking. So we have our images here, and we set so I showed us how to do an image. We gave a link to the image, so then it could open up another page. And you could set up navigation bars, like on any site pretty much. So there's navigation bars. So you can do that with the same method that we did here. And like I said, if you don't know how to do something, feel free to Google it. So if we want a navigation bar, just Google navigation bar HTML, and you'll find some great resources on how to do everything you need. So keep working on making sites. Once you get good with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, you might want to either check out ASP.NET or maybe learn some PHP to work with databases. That's all I had for my lecture, or for my presentation. I hope you learned something. Thanks for listening. Have a great rest of your night.